Well, good evening, everyone. Definitely have a big group. You can tell it's a election year because we have a lot of visitors coming in to just kind of see what's going on in the council meeting. And then we have a lot of activities as well. So definitely appreciate everyone coming. We would actually like to see more people more citizens from our community attend ours. It's always great to have people in here. With that, I'd like to call to order the August 19th, 2024 Prairie Grove City Council meeting. Roll call.
Here.
Rick Clayton.
Here.
Sue Pluck. Here. Tony Cunningham.
Here.
Paula Ditmar. Here. Bruce Reddick. Here. Chris Powell. Here. Doug Stumble.
Here.
Our next item is the Hometown Heroes. This has been moved to This has been moved to September 16th, our next meeting. We were given the Hometown Heroes to the Washington County Master Gardeners, and they cannot get all that group together for tonight. So they asked if we could move it to next month. And so we were pleased to be able to move it to next month. That way they could have their whole group together. With that, we'll move to public comment. We have any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move to the approval of minutes for the July 15th, 2024 regular meeting of the Prairie Grove City Council. So moved.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes approved. Treasurer's report was sent by email. Do you have any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move it to audit. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. First article of new business is ordinance to amend our parking ordinance, and this is really concerning the duration in which a vehicle can sit on the side of a road. And so originally, we had a 48-hour window when it came to parking in a subdivision or whatnot, and that 48 hours, and anyone that's been here a lot longer than me, interrupt at any time, but that 48 hours was originally planned as a weekend, but believing that someone comes home on Friday, leaves back on Monday, and it gave them the 48-hour window when you looked at a Saturday and Sunday. But when me and Parker was looking at this for some various reasons, we realized that the Saturday and Sunday really doesn't articulate what it's actually meant for, because most people would come home on Friday at 3, 4 o'clock, and they wouldn't leave again till Monday at 7, 8 o'clock. So the 48-hour window, as far as a weekend supplication, really doesn't line up anyway. And so we kind of started playing with it. And what you have in front of you at line D would grant a visit of 72 hours. And then we have moved from 12 to 24 on the movement of that vehicle, just to be able to protect us from what we're trying to do with just vehicles sitting out there. And that way they would have to move it after that for a 24-hour period when it comes to parking. But besides that, it's pretty much the same thing as what we've always done. We're just kind of articulating a little bit wider of an hour time frame, just to give our citizens maybe a better atmosphere of what we actually believe it was created for. Mr. Parker, you have anything to add?
I guess. Why 2 blocks? Why this way? Chief Workman and I sat down, visited about this, and we're trying to figure, well, what are we gonna say? Yeah, move it. Okay, I moved it 6 inches. Move it 100 feet. Well, who's gonna measure that? So we came up with, or actually Larry suggested the idea about a block. Chief and I, because of the way a block is defined, it's broken by intersecting streets. So if you're parked this side of an intersecting street, just move to the other side of the intersecting street, then, oh, you've moved a block, so we made it 2 blocks. So that in that situation, it's got to be at least another block away. And so that they're not just going back and forth like this.
And the reality is most people aren't gonna move 2 blocks, they're gonna find a place in their driveway to park, which is what the goal is anyway.
So, and we thought 24 hours There's a time limit to keep it moved, make a lot more sense. That's just basically a day. The police aren't having to go, oh, let me move it back within 10 hours. You know, they're not, they don't have time to track of all that. So we were trying to reduce the workload of the police department, so they're not out there with a piece of chalk on it, marking the tire in the street. So, okay, exactly where it is. Just these time periods will say.
Mr. Parker, is there any delineation between residential and commercial property?
This is only in residential areas. Here it is only residential.
You will notice some of the old language is still there. It talks about delineated parking spaces. So that would be like the parking lot downtown.
Right.
Would fall into that.
And we're doing 48 hours.
So that's still 48 hours. And that just keeps people from leaving their vehicle and, you know, sometimes weeks at a time.
Just to clarify, if they're parked in their driveway, not obstructing any traffic, they can't just leave it there for a week.
On their own property, they can leave it. As long as they're-
So it's like.
This is on the street.
This just relates to public. property.
Any comments from the public? Are we waiting? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Snyder?
So, there are ordinance on parking in the yard, then, if there was, pulling parking in the yard.
We revisited that early in the year, and the council decided not to approach anything as far as telling people when or how to park in their yard outside of non-operational vehicles. Obviously, we have made a lot of people move broken down vehicles from their yard, but no, otherwise they can park inside their yard.
It's been always placed to work for a period of time long.
Second.
Yes, that includes parking lots like stuff like that.
They're in that 48 hour.
The original 48-hour window.
Can a person get approval to leave the vehicle longer than 48 hours if it's broken down or something? Special approval?
I would say, so if you're talking about residential or commercial? Either one. So commercial, if I broke down behind Kay Shreve's and I'm using one of her parking spots, I have to get permission from the business owner. She owns the parking spot back there, so that's where my permission would come from. Residentially, it would come down to that hobby permit that we have, where if a vehicle breaks down, you can have one hobby vehicle, and then it gives us one calendar year to be able to tinker on that vehicle and get it operational again.
Okay.
And we have had cars right now on city parking lots, like at the library and behind the businesses. And typically, if somebody has a problem like that, they do call us.
Yeah.
And obviously, we work with them, but obviously, we don't expect them to leave it there for a week or 2 weeks.
What is the procedure for if they have been here for longer than 48 hours? Is it a warning and then a ticket, or straight to ticket, or?
Chief, you want to comment on that? After the 48 hours, if someone was parked illegally, she wants to know if you
Yeah.
go straight to a citation or if it would be a warning only.
Typically, I can say we know that usually we'll put a warning on it, everyone straight to citation. Unless it's obviously like on the side of the road, if they park too close, or if it's gonna cause an accident, or, you know, a fire truck or anything, something like that, we usually try to get a hold of the owner immediately, depending on the severity of it. But typically, if the vehicle is the violate ordinance, we'll put a notice on it. Try to get them.
That notice, chief, if I can remember from when I was doing it with you, 24 hours, wasn't it a 24-hour notice?
And like I said, a lot, it's on the state highway, it depends on how far it is, far line.
Mhm.
And obviously, you know, if it's obviously creating a hazard, it's usually towed. That very seldom happens. About warning.
Would a trailer left without the vehicle be included in that ordinance also, or would that be?
That's already.
There's another.
That's another order.
Another provision. 48 hours on trailers and boats. That's what-
Oh.
And that's just a one-time thing too. doesn't say you can move it and bring it back, so it's just 48 hours period.
Subsection. Commercial vehicles. The truck driver that drives his semi home and parks it in front of his house.
Yeah. Y'all, I do have a motion and a second on the table. Is there anything further? Roll call?
Rick Hall,
Yes.
Rick Clayton,
Yes.
Sue Pluck, Tony Cunningham.
Yes.
Paula Denmark,
Yes,
Bree Greg. Yes. Chris Powell, Doug Stumble.
Yes.
An ordinance to amend the parking limits.
The first been ruled, we're taking, reading it out the ordinance.
Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rick Hall,
Yes.
Rick Clayton,
Yes.
Sue Pluck. Yes. Tony Cunningham,
Yes.
Paula Denmark,
yes,
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Chris Powell,
Yes.
Doug Stumble.
Yes.
Thank you. Item B is an ordinance to amend the zoning map. This is for 1080 South Mark Street, parcel number 805, 20105-500, also known as the Ditmall's property. So this is the corner of 62 and Mark, more famously known. And to kind of give everyone a little bit of a backstory, as most of you know, for the last 2 years or so, we have been working on a comprehensive map that would rezone the whole city. There was some misinformation that was given through one of those meetings to Mrs. Paula Ditmars when she asked for specific information on whether or not her property would be rezoned in that comprehensive map. She was told no, that information was incorrect. We continued to go on with our public meetings. On May 6th of this year, we had the final public meeting, which was a planning commission meeting followed by a city council meeting in which the vote was casted and the comprehensive map was I'm gonna say it was 8-0, but it was passed. I believe it was 8-0. And it was passed, and in that, then the Ditmars found out that their land was rezoned. From that point on, Mr. Frankie Ditmars had called me, and I had told him that I'd work hand in hand with him on giving him the opportunity to get back in front of the council to do what we felt was lost originally. When we think about the vote itself, and this is just my opinion on it. When we think about the vote itself, it's hard to articulate what that vote would have been if Mr. Frankie was in front of us on May 6th. What I know, though, is that he necessarily wasn't in front of us because of that misinformation. So the one thing that we were trying to attempt to get back to him was the idea to protest his feelings on the city council approving or disapproving the rezoning of his property. So that's where we sit tonight. What they've asked for was a rezoning. It went before the planning commission. They took 2 months of evaluations before recommending it and sending it to you guys. Part of that recommendation was based on the misinformation. And the reason it took 2 months is that originally the request was to find out, or you may help me on this, most of the request was to find out that if the Ditmars family ever sold the land, if it could automatically go back to commercial, which the answer is no. There is no protecting it. If you decide to rezone it back to A1, which is the request of the Ditmars family, then it becomes A1. And that means it's agricultural. And if Mr. Ditmars decides to sell it tomorrow, post that vote, then it's A1 to whoever buys it, which also means that they could build a subdivision on it, different stuff like that. When we zoned it to mixed use business, part of our job was to try to save 62 and Mark for commercial business. Mr. Ditmars, would you like to say anything?
Yes, sir, that's very good. I knew that there's several things you left out, all this come about, had to talk to y'all. The way I found out, our property had been rezoned was from our neighbor. I know that y'all have your public meetings and all that good stuff to cover yourself under the city's umbrella. You leave. For me, pay 100%. not notifying property owners. If the property owner that I found out from lives in Little Rock, you tell me how he's gonna go about a public meeting in Prairie Grove. Nobody wants to have their stuff messed with without knowledge of it. Y'all did it legal, but that didn't satisfy me, and I don't think it would satisfy any of y'all either. It's just not a good situation. But anyway, legally, it is what it is, and if you follow David's direction, come back and get it changed back to agriculture.
Yes, sir.
Do nothing about it.
So what Mr. Ditmars is talking about is that we have to follow certain protocols defined by the state, which is, well, why we hired an outside firm to help us on that. And there are all certain public notices that we have to send out. But what he's saying, it really is true. Like, it is difficult for someone in Little Rock. And in his case, he personally didn't know about it. And so you have this kind of flip of the coin on, yes, we did everything legal, but Frankie Ditmars and his neighbor may still not have known that there was a public hearing that was going on to rezone their property. And I truthfully don't know the answer to that one. As far as notifying 9,000 people, that isn't just public hearings like the state requires us to do so. And I imagine that bigger cities go through the same problem. If we lived in Fayetteville and you're talking about 100,000 in population, it becomes even more difficult. I would assume, and I'm probably talking out of turn, but I would assume that's why the state requires it the way it does as far as our public hearings are concerned. But that's what puts us in front of you guys today, or the Ditmars family in front of y'all today. Your comprehensive map changed it to mixed-use business, and he's requesting y'all to change it back to agricultural.
From the planning commission side, some of the things we talked about, well, the first question we asked is, aside from just wanting it changed, are there implications of leaving it one or the other? From the city's research, they found none, although Mr. Ditmars does say that his accountant, his tax person, is saying that there are negative ramifications for him if it changes over to commercial. Like Mayor said, our concern from the planning commission perspective and the 2 years worth of work is that is what we had deemed the property best use for in the future, which is our job. However, after 2 meetings, we did feel like in this instance, his voice was taken from him. And for moral reasons, we'll say, we decided to go ahead and push it to y'all to be approved with it noted that it was strictly being approved because of miscommunication from a city worker at the time. No longer working for the city, obviously.
That is not the case. You said that last time. It is a current city worker.
It is a current city worker. Oh, okay, sorry, I thought it was someone who was no longer working. Here. Gotcha. So anyways, we felt like they had, while they did have all the resources as everyone else who did attend the meeting to come and to know, their voice was taken from them because they were told something different. So we did recommend to y'all that this was approved, with it noted that it was strictly because of that reason. That way there was no precedent set for anyone else in the future coming. And while that probably doesn't protect us 100%, it is noted that they had come to planning commission and city council and requested to speak their voice. And at this point, no one else has. So that's where we are. That's what our recommendations.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the precedent side, because that's what I was worried about, counselor, that does this for anybody that didn't get notified or whatever else, does it open the proverbial Pandora's box at that point?
Well, I can't say it doesn't. potentially it does. You may get a bunch of people coming back in and going, I won't go back to what I was before. That brings that up, apparently the planning commission. Recommendation. We're gonna recommend this one because of the very specific circumstances. They asked and given incorrect information. We don't know of anybody else that applies to. Okay.
Another thought on that is it's currently R1, which, worst case scenario, it would be acre lots or larger. If it were- What, A1, I'm sorry. So as is, it couldn't be turned into a high density, subdivision. And so we felt like that saved us, at least if it were sold for a residential area, it would not be, high density apartments or something of the sort. They would have to come request a zoning change for that, so.
I do want this on record, just so we're all on the same guidelines. And once again, I've spent more time with Frankie since this is going on, so this is not a knock on anyone. But your job is to give it the best future use. And so it's okay, either one or, but that is the task of the city. So I don't know, like when I hear about our questions of, do we set a precedent? I don't think you rezone it because someone got misinformation. I think when we give them the right to protest, that's what the Ditmores lost by getting the wrong information. On May 6th, Mr. Ditmores would have been up there, and every other time before that would have been up there telling us, and we would have had the same awkward feeling we have right now, trying to make a decision with someone in front of us on what our job is versus what the individual wants. I think your decision should just be based on what is the best use for the city. And it's okay if the best use for the city on that one goes back to A1, and we're okay with the idea of it being houses. But that's really the discussion you have, and that way when the next person comes up, it becomes, what is the best use for that land? And that way we're not in the gray line of arguing. I mean, that's just my thought, one side to the other, because if the next person comes up next month and they're asking for a rezon, in fact, you have another rezoning as soon as this one ends, and the question becomes the exact same thing. See, it's not easy, Mr. Mitchell, because it really comes, their job is to say, well, maybe the best decision is not in what the landowner thinks, but what the city has to do to protect the development of the city. And that's a difficult task with the landowner standing in front of you, but that's our task, that's our job.
Yeah, I say so.
Yes, sir.
President Rick, Paul was given incorrect information. She represents a lot of people out that area, not just us. That's already in stone. I said that before the planning commission also. That's something you'd have to consider if somebody did come up, because she was given wrong information. As you should justifiably look at if they request to be changed. The property won't be sold anytime soon. There's no sewer over there. There's no plans to have sewer over there. City's had it for 10 years and hasn't done anything about the sewer out there. So it's not gonna happen anytime soon. And the land won't hurt. That's why it takes such big lots.
Mr. Ditmos, thank you, because it's very similar, but at least it comes from a different viewpoint on the idea that we do give the right to anyone to stand in front of us for a rezoning, and that's why the little circumstances, I don't know if it matters or not. I'm just saying my opinion is that to hold on to that's that one thing. Once again, that misinformation took away their right to protest, not your right to vote yea or nay. But anyone should have the right to come in front of us and say, I want my property to be this or that, and then we have to make the tough decision.
Larry, all you can build is like big lots on it,
On an A1.
In A1, they would have to be minimum one
One
acre.
acre.
You could build subdivision, but they would have to be A1 compliant.
Anything else would have to come back before. It could be denied. Didn't meet what we wanted there. Can you remind me how many acres this is again?
I'm sorry,
How many acres are we?
44.9.
What's the difference with the MUD one and MUD again?
Different uses that are allowed. B2 basically, and I'm kind of generalizing, so don't hold me to this, but B2 is more of a lighter commercial, B1 would be more of a heavy. So your big box stores, your lumber yard could be a B1, any kind of retail could be. Smaller.
Suspend the rules, place the order, first reading of title only. Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Any further? Roll call.
Rick Hall,
Yes.
Rick Clayton.
Yes.
Sue Pluck,
Yes.
Tony Cunningham.
Yes.
Paula Ditmars,
Abstain.
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Chris Powell.
Yes.
Doug Stumble.
Yes.
An ordinance to provide for the rezoning of certain land in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, currently owned by Frankie and Paula Ditmar, modification to zoning map and
We refer to suspend the rules, waive second, third reading, adopt ordinance. Second.
Do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rick Hall,
Yes.
Rick Clayton.
Yes.
Sue Pluck, Tony Cunningham,
Yes.
Paula Ditmars,
Abstain.
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Chris Powell.
Yes.
Doug Stumble.
We move into item C, which is an ordinance to amend the zoning map for 11250 Little Elm Road. Also number 805-203-28-906. This is the Joseph and Elizabeth Mitchell. Would you like to tell us, Mr. Mitchell, what you plan on doing with the, if it gets rezoned?
About 1.7 acres. It's fairly rural out there. If I recall correctly.
This is what I like.
The right on that picture is also A1, the land to the left or north of us is 1.5. Part of that land, part of my land is kind of split. About a third of it's A1, you can see on the map on the survey there. About a third of it's A1, two-thirds of it is 1.5. We intend to put a commercial diversified vegetable farm, and yeah, we have a concept of how we intend to build. We intend to put our residents close to the Little Elm Road, and the vegetable operations would be on the back part of the property or east part of the property. Of that perspective, you can see it's rather narrow. It's only, I think it's only 55. So I mean, I think it's the tenor of the neighborhood. It's a good use of the property for the city because obviously it creates some food capabilities within the city of Prairie Grove. And who doesn't need to do fish?
Mr. Mitchell, I meant to ask you, doesn't matter, you're gonna sell on site?
Are
Are you gonna sell on site?
It is a potential that we are looking. It is, we have
That doesn't affect it, you can do that in A1.
we haven't decided. If we did, we would probably, the farm stand would be closer to the farm behind the house. Not on.
Roughly geographically, where on Little Elm is this?
If you go past the dog and cat clinic, okay, you're gonna go down the road probably about another quarter mile on the right. And it's ag on all three sides of it, basically, right?
This is on the right side of Little Elm. Yeah, Little Elm is 62. Okay.
Planning commission did
I
recommend
gave
it.
you the line. Yes.
Are they in well, they wouldn't know about the church, never mind. They're in that backyard to that
Yes,
church.
If you know where the new church is going to be built on 62, that tract of land, join it. So there's runs right up to the church.
East part of our lane touches that. It's great.
Move suspend the rules, place the order, first reading of title. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Rick Hall,
Yes.
Rick Clayton.
Yeah.
Sue Pluck.
Yes.
Tony Cunningham.
Yes.
Paula Ditmars.
Yes.
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Chris Powell. Doug Stumble.
Yes.
An ordinance to provide for the rezoning of certain lands in Prairie Grove, Arkansas, currently owned by Christopher Elizabeth Mitchell, modification of zoning map.
First, but we'll wait a second, but read it out.
I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Rick Hall.
Yes.
Rick Clayton.
Yeah.
Sue Pluck.
Yes.
Tony Cunningham.
Yes.
Paula Ditmars.
Yes.
Bree Greg.
Yes.
Chris Powell. Doug Stumble.
Yes.
Item D is a resolution to approve a revised contract with the Friends of the Prairie Grove Pound. We are not changing anything with our current contract. We just need to update stuff for our tax auditors. The contract I did send out because we was trying to get it to y'all last month. So it does say on this day, the 16th day of July, that has already been updated. And so the contract that we'll sign will have today on it, but otherwise it just confirms the existing contract that we have, satisfy our tax audit.
So moved. Second.
I do have a motion and a second. Any further? Oh, excuse me. Do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Move on to reports of committee. Sanitation, Sue Pluck.
One thing, last month we had an employee retired, and we had another employee, who's been going to school and sending training, got a CDO. So we moved over to that position and filled the spot as the want to talk about $40 assumption fee that's been brought up by, individuals that live outside the city that are trash only, don't have water and sewer.
He's in the city limits, but he's stretching.
Yeah, well, outside the service areas. Or whatever. But, most of them have a $25 deposit and their bill is $12 to $18, sometimes a little bit more. But whenever they go past due and it gets to the point where we quit picking up the trash and they have to come in, they have to pay a consumption fee, which is $40, which is basically based on our water and sewer that we do, reinstating or trying to explain water back on. He feels that it's unnecessary and excessive. He would like to ask the county to reduce that. And so we visited, I think, 2 years ago, and voted on this to keep it the way it was. That we hope that we will bring it back to the county.
So if it's okay for me to entertain y'all with some positives and some negatives on this. The negative is what we hear, and the complaint is that I have a $15, and his trash bill, I think, is 21. But theoretically, you could have anything from a $10 to a $20 trash bill. And if I don't pay my bill, then I have to pay $40 to get my trash picked back up. So in some cases, you may be doubling or tripling the actual trash bill. And what he was stumped on was you basically charging me a reconnection fee, but there's nothing you reconnecting. The garbage man didn't pick up my trash, and now he's just got to come back and pick up my trash, and you want me to pay an extra 40. So he feels like the fee's unfair, and it may be. That's what y'all here for. The good news, and I got this from Kaylin, who runs our water department, is that list used to be anywhere from 25 to 30 people a month. She says now that list is usually 5 or less. She said she has 2 complainers. Gentleman that is complaining is one of the ones that dislike the idea, but it's because he's had to pay it multiple times. And so there is a good side of a penalty, and that's that it does keep people honest. But I do think that it is right that we revisit when the trash bill itself could possibly be $10 to $15, and a reconnection or resumption of service fees is $40.
Is there an administrative overhead? So I appreciate the fact that like reconnecting the water service takes people to go out and do that. Is there still administrative overhead if the trash collection is suspended and then reinstated? Is that taking taxpayers' money to
We send
reinstate?
out late notices when it's not paid on time, and then we send out a discontinued service notice. So if it's not paid.
But they have to be paid in full for it to resume.
Yes, correct.
So there are some additional steps, but
Right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I will speak in behalf of Mr. Stevenson.
Okay.
Is Mr. Stevenson here?
No, sir,
I'm not
it's not.
familiar with Mr. Stevenson. He contacted me by email and explained the situation, and I said I'd be tickled to death to go down to City Hall and find out what was going on. I did not know that we had some areas that we just picked up trash only. I thought we did the whole service, so $40, yeah, maybe a little bit high for that, but I do think there should be a penalty. So I'm willing to recommend cutting in half. I still say a penalty, but I'll go to $20. Anybody want to bid against me?
So when he gets his trash reinstated, does he drag all of the trash that y'all didn't pick up the whole time that he wasn't, and then y'all still gotta pick it up?
Yeah, but we don't pick it up until the next.
Yeah. So we're still
Well, that's a
technically
lot more
all of his
trash.
trash off.
We're still
That's
taking
what I was
trash
gonna
that.
There's kind of answers Rick's question of the administrative overhead.
So
Well, that's
if
why I'm
we-
still
if we
paying.
picked out and we didn't pick it up, and he puts out 3 more bags the following week, and then he comes in and pays the bill, then you have to go back and pick up 6 bags.
And the
Is there an
truck still,
initiation charge if I'm a new service that's not water and I'm gonna have trash picked up?
$25 deposit.
So if I discontinue the service and I'm reinitiating or resuming to your, the 20 to 25, that basically I would say you just start, you're reinstating just like a new customer, and that would be $25.
Then there's a double deposit because it was discontinued.
And they have to pay their past due balance.
And then they
Yeah, that has to do that.
Y'all put some fees on some people, tell you.
I say leave it alone.
I'd stuff like that.
You gonna say?
I'll side with Tony though. I'll side with Tony. I think it's too high.
Thank you,
They're
thank you.
struggling. At $40, that's triple their bill seems excessive.
Yeah, I think I agree with Tony too, that it's kind of,
Well, what I do have is a motion and a second for a 20 and a motion and a second for a 40. So since Tony started first, we'll do the motion and a second for the 20. So in essence, if you vote.
Our ordinance.
Okay, so no, yeah, because I'm sorry, I was
You
thinking.
need to at least vote and see where you're gonna land.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it clear that we're not settling.
I was gonna say.
We just need a recommendation on what to bring back next with the change.
I recommend.
Who opposes lowering from 40 to 20? Who's my opposition? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a 4 and 4.
Is he
I'll-
an elderly gentleman or resident? Okay.
He's probably my age. Maybe, he may be a few years older.
He's in his late 50s.
That's,
know.
that,
Does he know?
that's close. We inching, we getting closer.
Does he know or aware if anyone helped him, if he's had financial struggles, but help
He
him?
works for the assessment office. So.
and I think we have to think of it as everybody in the state, not just that individual.
Well, it's 4-4. I'd be the tie-breaking vote. If you want to propose it, we can propose it, come back and see what happens next month.
So we're looking at 20 only on trash.
Just
Trash only.
trash only.
Trash only.
Resumption.
Because the way the ordinance is written, there's a reinstatement fee on all.
Can I say something?
If you want to know my vote, it would be no right now. We would stick 40.
Can I ask for one more thing? Right now, it's in the water and sewer ordinance. Can we remove solid waste and put it in the solid waste ordinance under its own provision? Because me and the mayor looked for this the other day for a long time.
I had to find it.
Yeah, because it wasn't with the solid waste.
That makes sense, Larry.
Because the
Clean this
billing
up.
is all through water department.
Yes, makes sense where it all
So
bills.
that's why and for the reduction fee is just like the reinstatement for the water.
Because it's gonna be a different fee, potentially based on this ordinance.
We can pull it out of the
Put it in solid. waste.
water pile and put it in.
I just see the administrative overheads different for having to send Chuck your crew out to turn the water back on after they turned it off versus an administrative phone call of starting to do that. So yes, there's some administrative overhead. Is that punitive or too punitive at $40 for, hey, I missed a couple of payments type thing, so.
They're still picking all that trash up, it go across the scales out there. So.
And Mr. Stevenson has a title, if y'all would like it. He's the chairman of District 5 wastewater treatment, water sewer
The Valley View Sewer System.
in Valley View.
I've talked to
So
Mr.
he's well
Stevens.
aware.
Didn't you say, David, that the late fees had dropped since the council raised the fee? There was only like 5 people on the list and there had been.
Yes. That's from Kaylin, so I'm speaking third party, but she said
Okay.
it used to sit about 25 every month, and now it sits about 5.
And I love the fact that they have to pay their bill in full, late fees, everything for it to be resumed. And then a fee for the administrative overhead of, starting the service back up. But
And Paul, to kind of answer your question too, when we adopted this, there wasn't any resumption fee, so they went from 0 to 40, so.
Okay.
Will you prepare that, Mr. Parker? And then we'll go to vote next month. The truth is, with 30 days in between us, there's a lot that can change. Anything else, Chuck? Street Department, Rick Clayton.
A lot of things going on downtown. Of course, you can see they've started doing the base layer asphalt today. With doing of the actual street paving tomorrow. And so hopefully they'll be out there by Wednesday with anything that traffic up Buchanan Street. So, there's a lot of things going on down there. But, one of the things I want to talk to you about tonight is the Copper Hill subdivision. The improvements that we have to make to Butler as part of that development. There's one house over there that is not part of the subdivision. And the street improvements are going to wrap basically all the way around this home. And for it to look uniform and match everything that Ralph Coleman is required to do, they're going to encroach on his property probably about 30. And of course, he's not willing to give that up. And because we're going to go in there quite a ways. And so we have met with him on numerous occasions. We've met with the engineers, and with their approval and my recommendation, the original approval of phase 1 and 2 would stay the same as far as back of curb, setbacks, and spaces between sidewalk and the green space of the back of curb. But the improvements going forward with 3 and east going towards the bypass, reduce the green space to 4 feet. The overhead electric will be moved over to the edge of right of way, and they'll set their poles in that 4-foot green space, which will take away 20 feet of easement that was going to go into his property. And that would be the remainder of the development as it moved on to the east. It would have a 4-foot green space instead of 6-foot, and no additional easement because the franchise agreement would bring them up to the right of way and not ask for additional utilities. What that changes is basically 2 feet of a green space from 3 on.
It's required to be 6 now, Chuck's asking to reduce it to 4 in this situation.
And it's just for the remainder of the development, not the first 2 phases. It will stay green and then about 6 foot and then take it back when they get the property. Now, it won't affect this property probably for 3 or 4 years because of all the development from the state to the west and to the south. But what it does affect right now is the alignment of the telephone poles, electric poles that they have to move along with the franchise utility agreement that they're getting in place right now. So they still don't have approval from the health department. They still don't have approval from Diamond Energy or SWEPCO. But we would like to get this all lined out so that when they do move the poles, the property owner that this will affect, it'll only move his electric one time. And then it'll be settled on where his pole will be, where the sidewalk will be. And he will probably be a little bit more amenable to everything being uniform and true.
Keep in mind, without this, you're gonna have a widened street, and then you're gonna have a jog out for about, how wide is it?
It's 87 feet.
87 feet, and then it's going to be widened,
And
so
then
it's gonna look incredibly odd. Dangerous too, for that matter, because the road's gonna see that.
And as a part of everything that's going to happen in front of this property, it'll have improved drainage, curb and guttering, sidewalk improvements, so it'll help with the drainage and everything.
Many of you probably know this is Dwight Martha, who's down from Butler, the brick house.
He's on the property for about a year, and now to come in there and start getting flags 30 feet up into his yard. So I would recommend it, that we pursue it in this way as we go forward. And, minimize that requirement, ultimately it's your decision. And I think it'd be a lot easier to negotiate the acquisition of right of way that we're going to need.
We won't need any additional right away if we move this.
We'll ask him for right of way, and at that time, then we'll discuss what it's gonna take, to acquire that, because we're gonna need 7.5 feet. And then another 10 foot for the sidewalk and the green space.
Since this is deviating from the master street plan, Parker agrees with me that it does require a vote.
It's a simple resolution in the park.
Well, I think if we just I think you could vote here tonight, as long as we've got it in minutes. That's,
Move to approve Chuck's recommendation.
Second.
Just a resolution, sir.
well, I'm not gonna draft a resolution, but what I just said was,
But I mean,
I think if
all in
council
favor?
votes tonight, have define,
I do have a mo-
delineated in the minutes
Yes,
that
sir.
we voted.
To deviate from the master.
Copper Hill, phase 3,
3 through 8.
3 through 8 is that we would deviate. Master street plan and
Just alone, just
the green
alone.
space between the street and
That
the
87.
sidewalk.
Yeah, to reduce the green space
6
from 6 foot to 4 foot.
Put the electric poles in there,
Yeah,
that,
because it'll be in the right place.
is that defined?
Have we had any issues with the homeowner that owns the gray house down that backs up to? I mean, if they're the brick house at the top of the hill, we call it Bill Child's.
You talking about the old Giles place?
Yeah.
This subdivision doesn't get down to
It
the.
doesn't.
It doesn't come all the way down.
We'll eventually have to deal with that if the rest of that develops.
Okay.
Not yet.
I didn't know if that was in there.
That's not part of it.
How far.
It does go that far.
Okay.
That will be a discussion for 3 years from now.
If it were, they're said similar.
Yeah.
This would,
Probably gonna have the same discussion.
okay, but it would line up clean.
Because that's why they're wanting to get this, settled now.
Sure.
Because they only want to move those electric poles one time. And Roush Golf, of course, has to pay for those poles, so they'd rather just do it once and get it fixed. Because they were talking about just moving it from phase 1 and 2. And Roush Golf said, no, let's just go ahead and move it for the entire subdivision. So we only have to do this one time. And so that's the reason this one's built right now.
Yeah, we do have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, say aye. Pose same sign. Motion passes. Anything else from the street department, sir?
Real quick on street, I mentioned this to Mayor a week ago, is if you can take a look on Buchanan right downtown, where we have a lane, double yellow line for the old market. I've seen and actually almost been involved in multiple head-ons because there is no clarity. People do not know what side of the street they are supposed to be on that. And I'm just really worried that we're gonna have an accident. I don't know if we can paint over one of the double yellow lines, but it's dangerous.
Downtown asked us to leave this open for as much parking as possible.
Agreed.
And so if we want to eliminate that, then we're gonna have to go back to blocking off one row of parking.
I'm just asking to look at it because I think there's a danger
But yeah,
there.
we can take a look at it. You're right, there it is.
Getting ready to start our second phase with both sets of lines will be used in the second phase, I assume.
Yes, because we'll only maintain one way of traffic in the downtown district. And we're getting ready to get that probably in the next 60 days.
Yeah, I'm not solutioning and I don't know
Yeah,
what the
right.
solution is, but I do know I've seen multiple almost head-ons right there and it's something that's dangerous.
I don't want you to think we didn't talk about it. We've talked about it. We've been going back and forth on what the right solution is on that one. While we're on street, I was gonna bring this up for fire department, but since we're on street, let me just say kudos to the fire department, the police department, and our street departments. 2 storms over the last 2 weeks. The Saturday before, it was just the fire department out, 1 tree out. We got cleared pretty fast. But last night, we probably worked for about 3.5, 4 hours, multiple trees, multiple streets. And so kudos to the street department and our first responders for answering the call when the bell went off. Some talk, some do. And so these guys went out and did it last night, so thank y'all. Water and sewer, Doug Stumbaugh.
All of the water improvements are completed on phase one. They had an update today, they're gonna start their disinfection and testing on North Front Street. And so probably in about 7 to 10 days, they'll start doing the meter tie-ins, those services on North Front. All of Case Smith are all tied in, all the plumbers are connected, all the services lines. The wastewater treatment plant has a significant completion date this month. And so everything is now on site and getting pretty close to operational. We have one SCADA system that is being installed, and that was the last thing that we were waiting on. That's just real-time monitoring for all the system that we have installed out there. Year and a half, finally getting it. So been going on for a long time.
Is that it, sir? Call it, Rick out.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I guess Larry, the last couple of months, we said things were pretty good. This month, not so much. Collections were down. Collections for the July this year was 18,564. That's the amount that goes to the city, compared to 22,556 same month last year. So down $3,000 this year versus last year.
We're hoping that, chief's speed,
Yeah.
annual speed control will make it bring that up.
It speeds up. Fire department, Rick out.
I'll defer to chief.
Busy. Trying to get try to put a generator on library, the old library. It's a hard job. So that's the fill position with the rehire.
Chief, you said you're still trying to figure out the woes of the truck.
Yeah, we're still getting closer. Good. Right there.
Thank you, sir. Once again, thank you. Fire department, police department. Parks and Rec, Chris Powell.
Yeah, we had a Parks and Rec committee meeting last week, and so we kind of had our public meeting with some of our volunteers that we get information from. We count stuff off of them and see what they come up with, what they think is the best solutions for some of our Parks and Rec stuff. We had a pretty good meeting. We had a lot of information. I'm gonna try to hit the ball, hit the high points of it. So a while back, we met with the turf company. We're looking at maybe trying to turf the outfields of the baseball.
The infields.
Infield, sorry, the park. And the total of those three fields is gonna be $548,000. And so bringing it with the committee and talking it over, we just didn't feel like that's gonna be something we need to do for a long time. We did, Mitch though, did happen to say that he has knows a company that can come out and refurbish our fields. I mean, was it drainage and everything or just,
He talked about cutting out the infield
Infield,
and then putting in better dirt that drains a little bit better. He thought the high end would be about 50,000. So when we talked about turfing the infields, what you're talking about spending $550,000 on, which we don't have, so it would have been a loan that would have costed us somewhere around $11,000 a month for the next 6 years. But the proposal is some of the issues we had last year with rain delays, different stuff like that, it would speed that process up, right? That's the benefit of turf. It just costs a lot of money. Mitch Cameron, from his years of fooling with baseball diamonds, he just said, I truthfully think I have a guy that can come in and tear apart that, put some better drainage in there, and the high end he thought would be 50,000. The committee itself voted unanimously against the turf. Ultimately, y'all can always ask it to bring before y'all because it's a big purchase item and it would come before y'all, but your 10 volunteer citizens voted against spending that much money on turf. We all looking, Mitch is making that phone call, and we have a guy we'll meet Thursday out there to try to improve the lighting out that way, put some LEDs out and try to light up the old softball field. We don't have those prices just yet, but we're hoping to be a little bit more reasonable with that aspect of money instead of jumping into, almost $600,000 worth of payments for 3 baseball fields.
So beyond the baseball fields, we talked about also, we're just waiting on I guess our contractor purchased some property from Snyder Grove.
Yes.
So we're waiting on contract for that. That's $50,000 for
For a total of 11 acres.
11 acres. So we're waiting for the contracts for that thing, and then we got bids on pickleball courts, because that's still a big issue, not issue, the topic. So we got bids that we can get 3 courts for $54,720. And I guess that's
just a concrete.
Yeah, so that's just,
Yeah.
it says turnkey here, but that's not true.
No,
That's just concrete.
that's just
Yeah,
a concrete.
concrete.
Turnkey concrete.
Turnkey concrete. But, so that's still a thing we're still looking at and we talked about where putting them. And so we talked about Reef Park out there. There's some land back behind there. If we ever, maybe out at the, Steiner Grove Park, we just kind of threw out ideas, but,
Tennis court?
that's what we're talking.
But we
I
talked
haven't
that, we talked that as
but
well.
it Wouldn't be parking by the time we get done with them.
It would reduce parking for
Yeah.
fair and things like that.
Yeah, so I think they're,
Well, I was thinking of all that grass area, really, there's enough, 2 or 3.
There's enough room. It's just whether we want to do that or not. I
Right.
mean, ultimately, we have to make some
Pickleball and
decisions.
tennis courts are together.
And we should have the money. So just so the crowd knows, we do accumulate money in the Parks and Rec. Obviously, we can spend it pretty quickly because Park and Rec items are very expensive. The Schneiders are here, so once again, thank them for their donation, because in essence, we bought 2 acres of land for 50,000. They donated the other 9. We did give them naming rights to the park, so you'll have, I'm just gonna assume something like the Schneider Grove Park that is behind Schneider Grove or Richard Schneider park. And so now we have to start looking at what can we do with the land. And so then you start having to discuss bathrooms and parking, concession stands as far as maybe long-term future. And we start looking at what could be $250,000 to $300,000, maybe even more, to get that land to a spot that we can really use it for, shouldn't say use it, because we can use land as is, right? Smooth it out and let it go, but to make it adequate for what we need for our park system, we'll have to put a little bit of money into it. So that's where the committee came in and thought, when you're thinking about 600,000 or 550,000 for infields, when we could use, up to 350,000 to facilitate a park, and then take another possible 100,000 for the pickleball courts that we've had a pretty large demand for at least a year now, if not longer. And so we're just kind of tossing all that stuff around. Once myself and Mr. Orr get closer to the end of the year and formulate a budget going into next year, because we did spend our budget so far this year with the few items we did, plus buying the $50,000 land purchase. We've already used our budget for this year, so once we can present a budget, not only to the committee, but to the council, we can kind of make some of those further decisions on what we need to do with Parks and Rec.
we also talked about pool maintenance, the pool, I guess the pool did really, really well this year. I had the number somewhere about that.
Record year, what?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it's like, record attendance, record money,
Record concession.
concession.
You get people in there and the records start falling.
Right, so we talked about all that. I was there at a party not too long ago, and just kind of walking around and just saw, some concerns of crack stuff in the concrete that I talked to Chuck and I already talked about, but we're gonna start taking a look at it. We're gonna probably start having maintenance to those things. So there's, like Mayor said, everything costs $50,000 when you go to the parking lot, it seems like. So these are just like things that we just kind of threw out in front of the committee and got their opinions and their ideas and their votes, and when something comes to life, we'll bring it back in front of the council for further approvals.
Chris, is there talk of something?
I'd probably be a Snyder Grove thing, if we, yeah, that's the only place I think we can.
We can do very, with stoppers. You know, we have to get it flat and just crash. The biggest thing is, parking. So we have 100-foot wide overhead electric easement that goes all the way down the south side of the property. And I've reached out to SWEPCO to see if we can utilize that area for parking. And so if they give us that approval, then that's what we're talking. It's getting that ready, the gravel place.
I think that's all I got, Mayor.
Hey, Chris, before we move on, one thing that, the Main Street, I think I mentioned this to you, the Main Street Board, had decided to do, we have a $7,500 matching grant from the state, through Main Street. And, we talked about a pocket park, which is right behind the Southern Mercantile, where the building that the city just acquired. It has an amazing mural, that has just a little bit of green space right next to it. So we're just looking at right now what we can do, but Chris, if we could continue to collaborate on, what that could do, Main Street would love to help with a little pocket park.
Perfect. Also the mural, that was part of that comes out of that art too, doesn't it?
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, okay, yeah, so that was another expense that we had. It looks great.
Yep, and
Okay.
that pocket park is really a great idea. When we bought that property, I don't know that we even paid attention to how much green space it came in, even when, we don't want to over exaggerate anything to the public. But even when we're talking about that being a little space, it is in comparison to a true park. But it was a lot more than we even thought it was when you and I went and stepped it out. It's got some trees, we need to do some cleanup on it. But I mean, as far as being able to put an activity out there, putting a few chairs, benches, and then it's adjacent where that park ends, or the future park or the green space would end, is where Jobin's food courts will be. So it's this perfect little area when you think downtown, parking lot, you're gonna have a food court soon there, the pocket park, and you got that beautiful mural that Valerie Dole's painting, and so we're really trying to, it's small steps, but it's huge in some of the things we're doing. And so to be able to partner with the Main Street and get some funds that way is going to be huge for us. So thank you again, Mr.
Jobin venue is gonna have a, outdoor music as well. So to be able to add, a couple things, you know, for family and maybe a small, thing that, people playing equipment for the youngsters. So they're playing in green space, I think it's gonna be advantageous for everybody. So it's gonna be a nice addition to that.
Anything else, Mr. Powell? All right. Police Department, Doug Stumbo.
Fire chief.
I'll do it, please. Mr. Terry brought it up, the speed, I don't have the exact number, I'm gonna look at that, a lot of them is electronic to the computer, or it's just something. I would have, it was successful, made a lot of stops, there's a whole lot more warning given, versus citations. There were a lot of citation issues where I'll get all the, with, you know, everyone on council, you get all the emails. So you know the complaints. We focus and hit all of the places extremely hard, parking people's driveways. Made a lot of stops. Some of the stops, and we heard this quite often, was, you know, we get host bill, work a speed step, this is why I stopped you, and we get complained. And a very large amount of the conversation was, yeah, I know I was the one that complaining. So, so it worked good. Everybody's seen us. And like I said last time, we can definitely slow people down unless you have a police that 24/7, work the radar 24/7, you're always in speeders. But we did try to hit those places. Made a lot of stops, you know, and issued quite a few citations violated. We're focused on, in all the areas. M62, we try to go back and forth. 62 is where we get probably most of our complaints. You know, and reckless driver and road rage, and actually our fatality crashes have but we hit all those places hard. I think all of it only stopped once. Whatever you do,
not good on that stuff.
But not so, you know, that you
Probably good.
What
No.
was the fastest, what was the fastest one you clocked?
93.
We had a few, you had a few in the nineties, didn't you?
Yeah, we had fair buck rate.
That one, Paul?
Was that long?
It's,
Did you give them a ticket? I wanna know.
yeah, they got.
They got the
They
ticket.
don't get paid, they have to sit in front of the judge.
Oh, wow,
So,
okay.
But it was good and, I mean, I think it was pretty well. Of course, if you get stopped, get the citation, nobody's happy. All does not. Other police business like JC, we're busy, you know, calls or we're not going down by no means.
Are you full staff?
No. You
You better show
know,
them.
that, I've been meeting with the mayor and I've spoken with Doug, that continues to be a challenge to face. Well, not just us, all law enforcement. We did hire, fill one spot, and actually, Logan Myers, her husband actually worked for the city, so she started today, so we got a few officers start today. We've offered another open position, to a gentleman who will be starting next month. And also today, we had another one of our veteran officers come in and give, 2 weeks notice, he's also leaving. Another agency, higher pay, better benefits. That's what we struggle with, and it is a struggle. Of course, budget time will be coming up sooner than later. And Larry knows we always sit down and just try to figure it out. I've already started the process reaching out to other agencies, get benefits, what they pay. The reality is in the police world, it's a struggle. In first responder world, it's a struggle. You know, a lot of them want to do it until they get out here and, you know, it's the work traffic, this. And when you get to some serious calls, they realize they don't want to do it anymore. And for us, you know, we have to invest, send them to the academy. Then we hire somebody, we give them some training, send them to the academy, pay for three months. They get out here coming to FTO, and then after FTO, they realize, they said, for me, all that time, money, and energy is, you know.
Yes. Hiring someone off the streets about 7 months
Yeah.
to get them from off
Yeah.
the streets to driving a vehicle.
It's a struggle, like I said, it's a struggle everywhere. We're just trying to be.
Are we still down with one turning in?
Yes.
Just one now or two?
And then there's issues with academies. They rotate academies from Benton to Camden and Northwest Arkansas to Lena and Springdale. We missed that academy, so there's no more police academies until January, so we're gonna have 3 rookies out trying to get them trained and already being staffed to get thrown out. So it's a challenge to say the least. Years past, I would say before COVID and a lot of the anti-police movement that we're all aware of. We had one open ticket, we did about 20 to 25 applicants. Now, even in trying to be competitive, we're looking to get 8 to 10. We're pushing it out, paying to push it out. It's just, they just make sure right now. Hopefully it gets better, but that's probably our biggest struggle. Just trying to maintain, keep. Yeah.
Chief, you got anything else?
That should be it. Trunk or treat, we do have a date set, so that would be on Halloween. This year, back at the Battlefield Park, all goes well. Whether that time of year, it could be doing anything, so that's the date that we said. We met with the park, up in here. Park seems to be a great location, good parking, just a pretty area, so.
The chamber is gonna do their downtown.
Let's say October 31st, 5 PM is when we'll start at the park, but the chamber is looking to do something downtown to affiliate that day and
I think it's the
coincide
monster walk. I
the
think.
monster
I think that's
costume
right.
contest and a monster.
Yeah,
And it's 3:35.
I think so.
They did the same thing last
That's
year, I
close
believe.
anyway.
While we're still on police, I've been telling y'all for a while now that we've been really pushing heavy on the violations in town. And so I do want to give kudos to Troy, who's here. He's our new building inspector and code enforcer. Alan Johnson, who's not here, who's our animal control, who we do use for code enforcement, is not his title. He's probably the lowest paid employee we have. And he definitely is a hard worker for us. Captain O'Brien works from time to time. Workman, Larry helps, Chuck helps. I mean, it really is a group effort to get all of this done. But since March 27th, once we got it on our Google Drive and started recording it, and this doesn't include how many times we just pull over and talk to someone in person and say, and you need to cut that grass, I'll be checking on you in a day or two, or you need to move that vehicle. What we have recorded is 96 recorded violations. 9 of them has transferred into citations because they have refused to do what has been asked. 21 are currently still under review, and we have 66 resolutions in that. So 66 people have cleaned up their property and been in compliance. And then we're still working with some other ones. And if you drive around our town, you'll still see 10, 15, 20, 30 more. I mean, it's just there. We try to grab, 4 or 5 a week. By the time we get in touch with them, send out notices, work with them through the process, it is time consuming, but I want to let y'all know that in this group effort, we really are pushing, we're trying to be very diligent on what we're doing. And we want a beautiful Prairie Grove, and it takes a lot of people and a lot of work. And to prove it, we got 96 people that we've already been in contact with to keep your town clean.
And I know personally, I have probably 5 or 6, but I just stop and talk to the property owners and then cut back their trees or remove some of the brush stuff, cut it along the fence line. And without having to send a letter or anything, it realized that everything was not taken care of by the city. They want to know when the trees are going to be cut back around the stop signs. Hey, the grass is getting high next to my mailbox.
And I will say, we've done that before too. If it gets too far behind, last year, we cut people's grass for them. We sent out your crews to cut their ditch lines because it was so tall. There was no way we could expect someone to go out there with a push mower. So it's not that we're not hateful by no way. If we can work with them, we'll work with them. And we try everything we can to bring a resolution, because then ultimately, we just want a beautiful Prairie Grove.
In an assisted living area.
Chris Powell, someone through you sent some on those vacant lots on Viney Grove. I'm working on all 3 of them right now. I've been in contact with every single one of them.
Okay,
So,
yeah, okay, I'll ask you about that.
every one of them is being worked on.
Okay.
Long range plan and Bree Greg.
We've already discussed 2 of the items we had on our agenda. We approved the large scale development plan for the school field house, which will go next to the football fields. We approved 2 conditional use, permits for vehicles for advertising by the Rustic Rooster and back porch designs and gifts. A question that, someone in the audience had is, how do you keep them from junking up their personal property or that property? And just so y'all know, the conditional use is for what is there when it's passed. So like at Rustic Rooster, I think there was 9 or 10 vehicles out there. If he brings in 1 more, it will have to come back to us. Same with back porch, y'all know the old truck she has sitting
And
out
both
there.
owners were there, so they heard
Yes.
this directly.
Yeah. But we do feel like those add value to their business and look cool, so. We had a board of adjustments for fences at David's Roofing out on Heritage Parkway. The fence came up too high and too close to the road. The neighbors actually, the fence was put up because when they added the addition onto the side of the building, those trucks would pull in, the lights from the headlight would shine right into that house. So they were in full support of leaving it. The fence still sits back, plenty of distance from the road, and we felt like it was appropriate for it to be there, so we passed that. And then we reconvened as a board of adjustments for paving, requirements from Bill Bush, which he has purchased the property out, trying to find out.
I can flip to it if you want me to.
Yeah, that'd be great. It's next to the new.
I think he purchased it back in 2013.
Okay.
It's
So
been a while.
He's had it a while.
He did some trading with Daltrey for that
Yes.
property.
He is wanting to put a car lot to the right of the building. But he was not wanting to pave the parking lot. We expressed to him that it was important to pave the parking lot for vehicles to be placed on and sold. He has stated that there's chip and seal already there, or chet, something of the sorts, that, should be sufficient. We also told him that for several years, we've not granted anyone, the ability to move away from this, aside from one time downtown in the storage units. The drainage was gonna be too bad for pavement to go in, and we left it just dirt and grass. That does not, appear to be an issue here. He simply just stated that it was gonna be too expensive to pave that parking lot to operate a car dealership. Is he here tonight?
No, he's not.
Or any representation? Okay. We said we would get feedback from y'all, but we really felt like it would need to be paved, and then we
So-
talked about some sort of program or something of the sorts to help small businesses, not have to put up so much money to get their business off the ground, but that at the end of the day, the city still wanted the properties to be maintained to a certain standard, and that was where we were at.
Just for everybody's information, I think Doug and maybe Tony and Rick may have been on the council when we adopted this. Like Casey Copeland brought it to the council. The ordinance now requires that if the property remains vacant for 90 days, then if somebody rents it and tries to put a business back in there, it has to be brought up to compliance. The other stipulation is in there that if the use of the building drastically changes in some way, for example, this is going to a car lot, which is totally different than anything that you, then they have to bring it up. There's some other stipulations that if they do an addition on the building, it has to be brought up to compliance. Or if there's a major remodel, they have to bring it to compliance. But that's what triggered, if this business that is in that garage back there, we don't have a business license on that for several years, so it's been vacant for a long time. So when he tried to come back, and it's changed use, because he wants to put a car lot in there, we informed him that it would have to be paid to do so.
We even amended that ordinance later on to try to help a business. And it
You
turned it,
added a variance procedure, which is what he asked for.
it turned into squirting the concrete out of the back of the concrete truck. It was nowhere close to what should have been done, so. There, my vote.
I don't think,
I'm trying to,
I can't remember, did we tell him we'd get feedback
yes, that's
from
what you,
council?
well,
Yeah.
you asked him to show up tonight so he could give his story. His variance request was based on your,
The lot already has chip parking. This is not a location that needs paved lots. This is oppressive and unfair.
But check parking lots, there's some old gravel there that's got crap over it.
so, so I will say that that's not the only violation, and he's now on, because he asked us to go out there and check it, and so it did show some more issues, nothing big, right? Some inoperable vehicles, different stuff that he's got to clean up around there, so I won't be on his good side either, but what he's asked y'all to do is to revisit the surfacing. Would any of y'all like to change the surfacing ordinance? So Mr. Bush or business owners like him would not have to agree to what y'all already put into code.
Can't see any reason why we would change the existing code.
Okay.
or variance.
Bree, anything else? No. Okay, thank you, Bree. Senior citizens, Paula Ditmos.
They've completed the bathrooms. Well, I was up there a couple of weeks ago, they didn't have the women's finished, but Lancet was finished, and they're gonna have an open house on the 12th of September.
I'll be signing the last payment tomorrow. She sent me the bill
When is the
today.
open house again? Well,
September the 12th. I believe that's on a Thursday, is it?
Yeah, hold on, I'll put it.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember exact times. It is at noon, at lunchtime, 12 o'clock. 12 PM, September 12th.
And I asked Lance what time, he didn't know. I'm glad you knew.
Hey, it was an invite from Chelsea, so 12 o'clock was her invite, 12 to 1. Paula, do you have anything else?
Aren't you the new employee of the
Yeah.
Prairie? You're a full-time deliverer, right? Part-time?
Yeah, I live in
That's great.
Congratulations.
Yep, that's
Lance
good.
told me how many there were. Can you tell everybody how many people you deliver to? Yeah, it's a lot. That's impressive.
It's a lot more than it used to be.
That's right. Paul and I did 7 minutes ago.
Yeah. And we grabbed about that. No, we didn't.
This committee.
That's all I had.
Library, Tony
It
Cunningham.
looks like, Mr. Mayor, there's nothing left on the agenda except the library.
That's up to you, sir. We say, hey, we saved the best for last.
Went by and visited with Megan and Amanda this afternoon, and Amanda said that through the end of the month of July, they had issued 300 library cards. Last year, the same time period, that issued 161. So there's a lot of people moving in and using our library. So if you haven't been there, please go by. Also, they put in a new flooring finished it, last weekend?
Yes, sir.
The old flooring had some water leak issues and all sorts of problems, and the new flooring is
It's
fantastic.
beautiful. It really is.
And Amanda is getting ready to start her programs the first week after Labor Day. They're gonna have story time, Lego club, and crafternoon. And I asked her what was crafternoon, and she wasn't real sure on that, so.
Go up and find out.
And speaking of the library,
It's crafts.
in defense of
afternoon.
the city and their infinite wisdom and the leadership, which we're all so thankful for, has anybody else blown through our new four-way stop going to the library?
She's there's another ticket.
Mhm. Hey, we got people sitting there now. It's been long enough that they making some traffic stops on that one.
It's gonna work good.
Yes. It's a beautiful four-way stop and
Yes, it is.
crosswalks,
Yes,
and,
it is.
and as we're about to move to announcements, school starts tomorrow, so kids will be walking that crosswalk.
Are you gonna sell tickets to watch the people pick up the children and drop them off?
We have, so Brandon Van Sickle asked about the speed limit out there. We,
45 all the way to the bypass?
yeah, we haven't made a post yet because we have one more section that's gonna change, and I don't wanna bring a whole lot of confusion. We have not wrote any tickets, anything out there. But you know, it's 20 miles an hour from basically Hobbs to Baggett Street to Flash Market. That's what it's been. When we put the four-way stop and people were blowing through it at 50 miles an hour, what it made us do was pay attention to the speed limit. Well, it was, Chief, help me, was it 40 or 45 coming up the hill? It was 45 coming up the hill. So from Baggett Street to the Muddy Fork was 45, and it'd be 55 out. And so we actually spent probably a week and a half driving it, going back and forth, spent time with Chief and Captain O'Brien. And so what it'll be, the final, right now, it's 20 to Baggett, then it's 30 from Baggett to the four-way stop. Once you get on the other side of the four-way stop, which would just be west of Blunt Street, currently right now, it's still 45 all the way out to the bypass, because we're still waiting on 2 30-mile-an-hour zones. So the long-range goal, 20 from Hobbs to Flash Market, 30 from Flash Market to the Muddy Fork, and then 45 to the bypass.
That's it, I bet that's.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Chief pulled over to 2 ladies the other day that flew through it, and they were doing probably 55 because that's what the speed limit has been, but they didn't even see the stop sign. They just, you know, rocking and rolling.
In Tom's defense, there is 2 flashing lights before you get there.
Hey, and we put an extra thing that says stop ahead before the sign that says stop ahead, before you get to the stop sign with the flashing beacon on top of it, so.
When they see that sign, that says stop again, they stop it. Anyway.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
The choose the school zone, would that not?
Ooh, you're gonna get into some serious, we may have to extend this one, but so. Mhm.
Okay.
State law.
Hey, Tony, we make sure,
300 feet either side of the school building,
Okay,
if I remember right. Isn't that right? 300 feet?
Think so, don't hold me to that.
so is this beyond, I mean,
It's a state law, so that would not be.
that would not be considered school zone, even though it's a road that connects to the school zone? Okay.
School zones, you have to be 20.
Right,
They can't be lower. So if we want to make a street 20, it can't be in the school zone.
Well, it is. There is a 20-mile-an-hour school zone.
There is 300 feet away.
We changed, Jenkins was still,
25.
yeah, hey, Jenkins was still 20. We caught that the other day. Because we're talking in front of, hey, Paul, you're correct, but we caught that, so that's, you're correct, but we caught that, so that's changed. There was one sign that was left off.
I figured they.
You did have a smart attorney.
So y'all, just to bring us back in, all we have is announcement left. Does anyone have announcements?
I have an announcement, Mr. Mayor.
Okay,
In 2 weeks, which will be Labor Day, of Saturday before, the Occidental Lodge number 436 will be having their quarterly breakfast, and this one is for the scholarship fund.
September first.
So if, Lynn put that in the paper, we appreciate it.
September 1st, Mrs. Carter. You want to talk about the street dance, or you got something else?
Our tops will be playing for us. From 6 to 9, and we'll have bounce houses and food trucks and farmers market decided they're gonna be there.
You will be out there?
Dunk tank, we'll have a dunk tank. So. Yeah.
I gotta get you away from that dunk tank.
They like some-
And for all you folks that may not know, the Clothesline Fair is coming up, and our new superintendent back there said that he's gonna be handing out hamburgers to everybody that'll come by Saturday evening and Monday evening.
Yes, sir, for $5.
The fair is August 31st through September 2nd. We have a lot more vendors this year, like around 180. And
The
the
parade
spread
is
is
the
way up.
Parade is the first.
Yeah.
No,
We do it start
Yeah.
at 6.
We're gonna be the first.
So.
It's a
we've
big
done it every
difference.
year.
I got you. I just want to make sure.
I don't know if all from the streets.
Yes, it should be cleaned up by tomorrow. That's what we're saying. Any other announcements? Any other announcements?
No other announcements. I would,
Entertain motion to adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Y'all have a great night.